Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to episode 2 of the after show of Survivor at UCLA season 4, Moral Dilemma. Last week we had a bunch of snakes and Evan, who you could qualify as a snake if you wanted to. And this week we have a bunch of doves, getting the other side of the story, as this episode does really focus a little bit more on the dove tribe. So I'd love to go around, do introductions, and for everyone to talk about where they are now. It's been a while.
I can go. Um, Hi everyone. My name is Elena. I was on the Dove Tribe on season 4. And then what I've been up to now, I just graduated from UCLA in December with my bachelor's in psychology. And then I've been lucky enough this year to be co-president of the club with Simona. So that's been really awesome and super fun to give back, since the season.
Yeah, Hannah.
Hi everyone, my name's Hannah. I was also on season 4 on the Dove Tribe. I'm currently a third year and I actually just got out of class. I just did a presentation. And as far as involvement with production, I am lucky enough to be the head of the art department, so in charge of making all the props and decorations and everything like that.
Awesome. Kelsey, what about you?
Hi, so I'm Kelsey. I was also in the Dove Tribe. When this was filmed, I was a freshman, so now I am also a third year like Hannah. So I'm still at UCLA. I'm still studying mechanical engineering. I have significantly less time than before, so I was able to do a couple of things with production over the past 2 years, but mostly now I just get to like play in the background to see what's kind of going on with production. But I was on the challenge committee for a bit, super duper fun. Just getting to like see the behind the scenes of how the challenges are conducted and also just getting to know everything that's going on in the game all at once, which obviously you don't get to see when you play.
Yeah, it's fun to be on the flip side, but personally, I will always love playing. But that's just me. But so okay, let's jump right into the episode. But I mean, beyond the episode, I want to talk a little bit about the first episode because we didn't really get that Dove perspective at all. We get really, I mean, Elena, you definitely had a part to play in that first episode. You took the clue, you found the idol, and then you guys won immunity. Kelsey, you definitely helped solve that puzzle. But yeah, I want to talk about like what week 1 or like whatever round 1 really looked like for you guys. Anyone can jump in.
I guess I can go first since like you said, there was kind of some interesting stuff going on for me in episode 1. I feel like in terms of like meeting the tribe, it was really a big focus on just getting to know everyone and be really friendly. At the when we first met each other, we didn't know we were the Doves, but like I knew that everyone seemed really friendly and like someone I would want to be friends with outside of the games. Then I think that made it kind of easy to just like connect with people and just like start like building connections without having to work on like alliances. But then, we were kind of thrown because immediately we had the chance to, do something deceptive to the tribe. And like I said, at this point, we didn't know that we were doves. So I didn't know if there was going to be like any type of perception anyway. But I just remember like when I saw the option to take the clue, I knew I was going to take it. And I was really surprised that more people on my tribe didn't take it. Like I was genuinely shocked when Evan was like, only one person from the Dove tribe took it. I was so shocked because even though I wanted to be a team player, I thought we could still maybe win if we had some type of disadvantage. And I was like, I want the chance to find an idol. Like I'm not gonna play, Survivor UCLA without giving myself a chance for an advantage, I think was kind of how I went into it. So I was really shocked that more people didn't take the clue. I will say that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do you guys want to talk about like why you didn't?
Yeah, well, I didn't think I was a good enough liar to look people in the eye and say no, I didn't take it, even though it's like in my shoe or in my pocket. I really didn't want to go home first. So I think hearing that we could have an advantage in the challenge, I think was a little more important to me because I thought there will be more idle clues in the future. Why do I need to take this one right here, right now, and have to go back to these people I just met and lie to their face about it? I didn't think I could do it. Apparently, other people can do it, but that's okay.
I agree. I was like, there is no way I can like get away with this right now. Like I was too flustered. The game had just started. I didn't even real well, obviously the game had just started, but I didn't even realize it was already going. Like I thought we were gonna go like film something over there, like tell us about how excited you are to play. And they're just like, take this clue and backstab people right now. and decide right now. So if I had a little more time to think about it, maybe I would have made a different decision. But like I wasn't even thinking. I was just like, no, I'm not going to do this. I want to win this challenge. And I know that I can't deceive people that well right off the bat because I was like still getting into it. So that's why I didn't take it.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, we talked a little bit on the last episode how like it worked out perfectly. You know, like Evan was like, if no one or like if all the Doves took it, you know, it's like, well, we screwed up the casting. There's no point to the season. What are we doing? Right. And it went like, and I was shocked. Like, I was shocked that it like actually happened the way it did. And it was beautiful. I think it was fantastic. Um, and then yeah, relationships wise, I mean, it seems like, you know, you guys weren't going to tribal, right? So it definitely was a little bit of a slower start, but I think that's warranted. And then this episode, you know, we start to see more where it picks up. We have this fun little Kelsey Jude dynamic. And then Elena, you're definitely in the middle of a lot of things, kind of maneuvering people. So we'll definitely jump into that. But first, I want to talk about the challenge. I love this challenge. I remember when we were making it, I was so excited, and it played out like so beautifully. Like the cinematography was like the tribes were up, and the segment where I think it was Nia who was talking about like how like it pans over to the doves, and you guys are just like standing there. Like I thought that was so like the snakes are like, "Rah!" and then the doves are just like do 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 like it was so funny to me, but I think it was a really fun challenge. And we have this pull the plug twist that we throw in where basically at any point and I was a little bit surprised no one took this, but I don't know, you could basically choose to forfeit your round or forfeit the challenge, send your tribe to tribal council, but you personally would be immune. I'm curious, like, if you guys considered that at all. Like, I think maybe if the snake tribe had been like losing a little bit more, maybe one of them would have pulled the plug just to like be like, we're gonna lose anyway, and if that was more in their nature. But I'm curious if any of you really considered taking that.
I know for me, like I didn't even consider it. And I think it probably had to do with like the pace of the game up until this point. You talked about this last episode on the after show, but
Love the
the
pace.
the snake tribe was like way they had to pick up the pace really early after we won that first challenge. So going into this one, we were just kind of like, okay, like we're doing well right now, like we can win this. Um, and then also like there was no really like the dynamics between people weren't too complicated at this point. Like we didn't have anybody who was super on the outside going into the challenge or like anybody who was like feeling like they were in a super bad position. So I think from that perspective, like nobody wanted to put the target on themselves by pulling the plug. Like, sure, it'll help you for this tribal council, but there's going to be more down the line. And like, if you don't have a target on your back right now, like, why make one? Like, your probability of surviving one tribal might be good, but if you're looking at like two, three tribals down the line, people are going to remember that you forfeited. Um, and also, like, I was one of the earlier ones to go. So at that point, obviously, like, I didn't feel like it made that big of a difference. Like, I thought maybe down the line, since the Dubs were kind of getting killed in the challenge, one of the last people would pull it, and maybe we wouldn't have considered it that big of a betrayal at that point. But that was pretty much just my logic of why nobody pulled it. And maybe for this, again, like you said, if the Snakes had been losing, could have been an entirely different thing because they've already had a vote. They've already been working on their alliances and talking to each other this whole time.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I know like you talked about like the energy kind of the different energies between the snakes and the doves. I mean, for me, I remember like going first, and then like part of the reason I was like so nervous about the challenge because I just felt like it's kind of down to like who's going to be the most like aggressive and like kind of pouncy on you. You know what I mean? With the knocking the idle hands off, and like that's not me as a person. I don't think that was most of the doves. And this kind of like 1v1 type situation, I kind of didn't feel like it was gonna go well for us. So already at the beginning, I was like, I don't think we're gonna win. But I will say like I felt like kind of in the first episode we had discussed like Jude really having suspicions of Ayushi having the idol clue. And so knowing that I was kind of like, okay, like worst case if we do go to tribal, like I don't think I'm gonna go home because, all the suspicion is on her right now, I think. So that was for me like why I never really considered pulling the plug. And also I did go first for the tribe. So like if I had pulled the plug first, that would have been yeah, really terrible for me. So not really an option. But I do think, yeah, I agree with Kelsey. I think like if maybe 3 rounds had gone by and we had happened to win all the 3 rounds, I could have seen one of the snakes pulling it for sure. So that would have been interesting, but I don't really think anyone on our tribe was going to.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's
Fun
definitely.
fact, I'm actually in the place right now where we had the challenge.
Aw.
And I'm sitting right here on the bench where I also sat out on the sit out bench because I didn't compete in that challenge.
Yeah, was there logic behind that, Hannah?
Well, I just felt like no one was gonna say it, and I also did not think this was a challenge I was gonna be good at. I thought like someone would just immediately walk over and just immediately knock it off my thing, and it would be kind of embarrassing, and I didn't want to do that. So if no one else was stepping up, I was like, might as well, you can't blame me for losing because I didn't even do anything.
That's true. Did you like check for an idol clue or anything? I don't
Yeah,
think
I
you
did,
did.
and there
Yeah.
wasn't. But then I remember someone later said that they thought I maybe had an idol because there was a clue there, but no, there was nothing.
Mm, yeah. You never know on the sit out bench. There are merits, perhaps. Um, I always think about that one episode of Survivor where I think it's Michaela, where it's like she like just misses it. It's under the bench. It's like ah, but yeah, no, I don't think we put anything there then. But no, I love that courtyard. I think it was like the perfect place to film that challenge, honestly. Just the way that like it made it feel like a stadium. I don't know. I thought it was exciting. But I want to talk about the episode title. I love this episode title. It's something I like think about it. When I think about like Survivor at UCLA lore, like this pops into my mind. Apparently, it was like a white chicks reference or something. Like it wasn't just like a thing Iman was saying, but I don't care. You have like Iman versus like Ryan Berry, and Iman's like move bitch and like, takes the point and snakes win and it's a whole like moment. And like yeah, sometimes in my head I'll be walking around campus and I'm like, move, bitch. Like in my head, like I think about that so often. It's so good. Any thoughts on the episode title?
Yeah, so that was just funny because like you said, it's like a little piece of lore from our season. Because I don't think people understand how pissed the Dubs got over that. Like because Ryan Berry is like one of the sweetest, like most soft spoken. Like he was like so quiet and he was like so innocent and we all like love Ryan Berry, and then Ryan Berry goes up there and it's Amon, and Amon like whacks his thing off and is like yelling at him, and we're just like, what the heck? And then we find out after the fact, because like after the show, everybody really talks to each other, and Amon's like, guys, that was a white chicks reference, and we're like, oh, like still it was rude, but it was pretty funny. And we all just felt bad for Ryan, and Ryan was like a little embarrassed because of it, because like that was mean. And so like I fully expected this to be the episode title because it's just something that like the contestants and production have talked about for like 2 years now. But it was a really funny moment.
Yeah.
Y-
No, definitely
Yeah, I
memorable.
was gonna say I also feel like Karina did a really good job editing it because like I mean it was really like a huge moment for us, and like I feel like later like throughout the game I was like I don't like Iman. Like we all said we don't like Iman like specifically because of that moment for like multiple episodes until I mean really, and I like had this terrible impression of him really like for a while. So I think um that was definitely funny, but I think she did a really funny job of editing it with like the like black and white and like the kind of like sad music over like the dunker like giving a confessional about it. Like I did not expect it to be like that editing, but it made it super funny and it really was like a memorable moment. So yeah, that was like the highlight of the episode for me for sure.
Yeah, the editing this season it's on point. I think yeah, she captured that really well. It definitely was a tone setter for sure. And yeah, I mean, it was a fun challenge. And I think like when I think about that challenge, that really is the moment that I like really think about. We also get a funny clip of like I was watching this with Lucas where he's like trying to get everyone to like clap for him, whatever, when he gets the point. I was like, guys, calm down. Like, that's crazy. They were doing too much, I think. Um, but I think it was a really fun challenge, and we got to see a lot of different strategies come out, despite it being in some ways kind of straightforward, which I think made it really compelling. Yeah. Hannah, do you think if you'd been up there in the stands that the energy would have been better?
No, I don't think so. Honestly, it was really intense, and like I think it was especially just because they'd lost the last challenge. And so I mean, what can you do other than try and, be really aggressive? Because that's the nature of the challenge, is being aggressive. But yeah, talking about like the Amon move, bitch, is just really funny because I'm just imagining in my head. Imagine he said that and then he had lost that round. That just would have been extra funny.
It paid
So
off.
it was a really bold move to go ahead and do that, but it paid off and it was really a tone setter. I think we had kind of talked about if we'd made it to the merge and he was still there and we had the numbers that, he was going to be our first target. That didn't happen, spoilers, but yeah, it did. We did talk about it.
Well, does Iman make it to the merge? Do you make it to the merge? I guess we'll have to see. But yeah, okay, let's jump into the tribal council strategy. There's like low-key a lot that goes on despite it being like relatively a straightforward vote at the end of the day. Definitely different, I would say, than how the Snakes versus Tribal went, where theirs was like a lot of paranoia, and then they kind of settled on, well, Ayushi's not doing anything, or well, Izzy's not doing anything. Like for y'all, like Ayushi also wasn't doing anything, but that was already kind of an understanding, it seemed like. Like it seemed like going into the round, that was kind of the idea, was that Ayushi was probably going to be the boot. But we really see a lot of relationships start to develop here, and a lot of dynamics kind of start to emerge that we didn't really necessarily see week one. So yeah, Kelsey, we have this fun little dynamic with you and Jude where you're trying to each like find out who the other person likes as their like number one whatever, and it's like and I think in the episode you're like, of course his is a dude, or whatever, something like that. Like I thought that was really funny. And then yeah, then we have this interesting dynamic. Elena, you're trying to like figure out how to clue Matthew in on the vote, and Hannah's like kind of being like, not in the loop as much as she maybe could have, should have been. So yeah, I want to just like jump into those dynamics from y'all's perspective.
Yeah, so with Jude, it was just kind of funny, because I probably wouldn't have reached out to him if we hadn't just run into each other. And I describe it in the episode, but it was basically like I am sitting between two pillars of Royce and I'm about to go into my class and I like step off like or like get off the platform and I like look over and Jude was on the one next to me and I like hadn't even seen him. He'd just been sitting there the whole time. So I'm thinking like, did I take any like survivor calls during this time? I didn't, but I was like, did he just hear something? Like, I don't know. I was kind of paranoid, as everyone was.
That's
But
so real. When you're playing Survivor and you're walking around campus, like I'm a big voice memoer, and so I'll be like checking, to make sure like no one's nearby as I'm like walking and talking. So that I think that's really real in college Survivor.
it was pretty funny. And then we wanted to like we clearly wanted a strategist. We didn't have a whole lot of time. But then we just kind of wanted to like say name and like be on the same page. And I was like, no, you say name. I'm like, I don't want to say name, you say name. And he's like, I think a Yushi might have the idol. I'm like, I think that, but yes, a Yushi might have the idol. Sure, like let's go with that. Like I have no idea where it is. And so then I was kind of just like feeding into his like I don't want to say delusion because like nobody knew where it was besides Elena at this point. And it worked out. Like he figured a Yushi was a good vote, got the word around that it was going to be a Yushi. And then how Dunker played into it was just kind of funny because Dunker had reached out to me. And so I knew he was reaching out to people. So when Jude was saying that like the person who he was talking to was a dude, as I say, like super eloquently, I was like, oh, okay, so it's Dunker. And he was like, I'm not gonna say who it is. I'm like, okay, cool. So it's Dunker. But it was funny. So like you said, like shouldn't have been that complicated of a vote, but we overcomplicated it as things tend to go.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to be like it's this straightforward, because then it's like, is it really this straightforward? Like especially at the first vote, especially it is supposed to be a tribe of trusting, loyal people, but someone took the clue. Someone's not so trusting and loyal, right, Elena?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think because of the fact that I had taken the clue, I kind of knew early on in the game, like I was gonna have to lie, like in pretty much every single conversation I had. And I think that was really nerve-wracking for me at first. And so I kind of was like, okay, I'm gonna really focus on making like super like social, like one-on-one connections with people so that like I don't have to be like strategy like all the time. I can be more like social and not have to feel like I'm like lying every single second, I guess. So I would say like yeah, my strategy going in and like in this round for sure was just to make as many individual like one-on-one bonds as I could. And I really knew that it would be easier for me to do that with the girls. So I feel like, me and Kelsey clicked super fast, me and Hannah clicked super fast. And I feel like okay, I was like, these are like the people I for sure want to work with. And then an unexpected connection for me, I would say, was yeah, with Ryan Barry, um, as well. Like like when I first met him, I was like, I don't know if this is someone I would for sure be working with because like we're not really the same personality like at all. We kind of like I don't know if I've really been friends with anyone like him in my life, but it ended up, like we ended up also forming a connection. And I was like, this is perfect. Like, I was really focusing on those like social bonds. I would say going in so that I didn't have to like feel like really like nervous about my idol all the time, but I still did. Like that I definitely like in every conversation at the beginning, especially the main, I feel like focus of the conversation was who took the clue. And so it was really nerve-wracking being a part of those and just being like, am I like lying well enough? Like, am I doing a good job? But I think at the beginning of the game, I would say I think I did a pretty good job of hiding it. So I feel proud of myself in that regard.
No, yeah, I don't think anyone suspected you at all. It's funny though, watching it back, we see this conversation between you and Kelsey, and you turn so red. Like your face is beet red in this conversation. Like if you go back and you watch it, you're just slowly like turning pinker and pinker. Which I mean totally would have been me, I'm sure. But yeah, like the fact she didn't catch on, and like that's not something you can control. You know what I mean? Like I really don't think anyone had any clue that it was you. I think we see this in the episode, and we talked a little bit about this in episode one as well. But I think you were pretty like trusted and socially insulated, um, pretty well. And then Hannah, you kind of have like a little bit different of a perspective also, where like you're kind of weighing different things, and you're like, who do I talk to? And then Elena like sends you like after she's already like explain that whole situation where like Elena kind of had you like tell someone something that was already like clued in, please.
Okay, well, first of all, like I don't really know what the point of that was because at the end of the day, I don't think it really accomplished anything. But and it was kind of just kind of dirty for no reason because Kelsey, Elena, and I had talked about, and I was saying I want to tell Matthew, we should tell Matthew, and Elena said no. So for her to tell me no, we shouldn't tell Matthew, only to turn around and then tell Matthew, and then tell me to tell Matthew, it was just I don't think it was necessary at the end of the day. I don't think Matthew, I mean, you could ask him this. I don't think he trusted her any more than me because of this. I think we were all pretty equal in terms of who he trusted at the end of the day. So yeah, I don't think it really did much, but yeah, I don't know. I wish maybe that I didn't listen to her and I would have just told them on my own anyways. Do I think it had much of an effect in the game? No, but I guess good on you for doing that. I don't really think it did much, but you
I
can say like why you did that, I guess.
Yeah, we needed to bring it up. I feel like this is
Yeah.
something it came up. It came up for sure.
Okay, well, I don't remember telling you to not tell him, so maybe I did say that. I don't exactly remember. I'm sorry. It was 2 years ago. But
Yeah, I don't
my
know either. I just
purpose,
know the conclusion of the conversation that we had was that we weren't, I think.
well, okay, this is kind of how I thought about it. So obviously the main paranoia about Ayushi was that she had an idol because Jude thought she had taken the clue. And kind of I think we were all kind of coming to the consensus that her and Matthew were like Matthew was the closest with her out of anyone on the tribe. So the worry was like if we tell Matthew, he might tell her and she has an idol. So I think if I remember correctly, I think it was kind of a mutual decision that we were going to tell him like right before tribal just because of the fact that if he told her like, earlier, they might have had a plan to idle someone out. But of course, like me, the reason I ended up going ahead and telling him is because I knew she didn't have the idol because I had it. So I mean, part of it is also because I feel like I just kind of have a big mouth sometimes. So I was like already talking to him and I was like, oh, like, what's like, why not make another ally, while I can? So my thought was just if I can get any more ahead of everyone else in terms of making Matthew like my ally, I'm gonna try to because I know it won't have any negative repercussions for me because she doesn't have an idol, if that makes sense. So that was kind of my thought. I mean, it could have backfired if he just went and told everyone like, "Oh, Elena already told me," because then I feel like Hannah and Kelsey might have been a little wary of me for sure. Like, why did she like do that? But Matthew to me like didn't know the game as well as some other people on the tribe. So I felt like he would just like listen to me and be like, okay, like Elena's looking out for me. And that's kind of why I ended up doing that. But I agree with Hannah, like I don't necessarily think it had a huge impact, but my goal was just trying to do anything I could to, make people feel a little bit closer to me than everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, at the first tribal, right, it's hard because you really just don't want to screw things up. You really like all you really want is things to go to plan, and so the risk of like oh, if I tell one person, it could hit the wrong way. Like there's a lot to weigh there, certainly. And so I definitely think we saw that, especially in that scenario. It's funny because from a casting perspective, I remember Matthew saying that he like watched the challenge. I love the challenge. Shout out the challenge. And so I was like, oh, he's a gamer. Like he knows what's going on. And I think it's funny that like him and Ayushi were seen as being close because I think at least from a production standpoint, and I think you guys will probably agree, like they were the two people who seemed the most like disengaged overall. And so this idea maybe they're like this secret, super close bond, was pretty funny to me at least.
I'll just say I think the reason we thought that is because she would always tie his buff, or before challenges and before travel, like she
That's
would come and tie his buff, and she didn't tie anybody else's buff, so she must have at least a little bit of a connection with him.
I mean, yeah, you see that like physical comfortability. That's definitely like an indicator of something for sure. And so okay, so we go to tribal council. It's a pretty tame tribal council. There isn't much that stood out to me. I mean, Ayushi was serving looks for sure. Like the zoom in on her face where she's just, she's yeah, she's looking for sure. I don't know. Did anything jump out to you guys from that tribal council? Like, I think it was pretty chill.
My favorite part was when Hannah was like, please talk to me. Like in tribal council, I totally did not remember that even happened. And we were just watching it and she was like, yeah, if anyone wants to talk to me. And I was like, oh my God, that was kind of a bold thing to say at tribal council, I thought. But I didn't like, I don't even remember that happening until watching it back. So it was pretty funny.
Yeah, Hannah, what motivated
I
that?
don't really remember saying that either, honestly, until I don't remember saying most of the things that I see in the show. I'm like, oh wow. I think I was just trying to say something because it was a pretty tame tribal council, so and I made it on the show, so there you go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and like, look, you all made it through, right? That's really what's ultimately most important. And yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting how I think compared to the snakes, this still was a pretty tame like strategy, whatever overall, right? Like it really was Ayushi, and for them it was maybe Iman, maybe Annika, oh, there's a duo, like da da da. And like there were some considerations of that, but like I think in true Dove fashion, like this week was really about like building relationships and like doing the thing that really seemed the most agreeable. I think whereas like the snakes, their intention didn't really seem to be to do something agreeable. That was just what ended up happening. Whereas for y'all, I do think there was definitely some intention um, to be united. But I do want to jump a little bit more into now, like watching it back. And you started to talk about this a little bit, Hannah. It's like, I don't remember anything that I said. But yeah, I want to know, like, what is it like ultimately to like watch it back at this point? And like, what is it like to like be on it, and like reflect on that experience?
Well, I'll just say, knowing Elena now, I can't believe I ever believed a single lie she ever said because I can clock when she's lying so easily. You're so right. She gets so red. So I can't believe I ever fell for anything she ever told me now. So I'll just say that. As far as watching it back, it's just honestly, it's really funny to think that we were in this game and it was so serious. And now, we're just watching it back on YouTube and laughing about all the stupid things we're saying and doing. And it's a really nice experience. I'm really glad I did it. It changed my life a lot. And I think that we can all agree about that.
Do we want to say more about like tell me more, Hannah?
Oh, Elena can talk about it. I think she'd
Okay,
rather
tell
talk
me
about
more, Elena.
Well, okay, first I want to say thanks, Hannah, because now I can't ever go on a returnee season because everyone's gonna be like, her face is red, vote her out now. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but yeah, I mean, watching it back, I'm kind of like, I'm glad that it's so much later coming out because everyone's kind of like, if there was any like drama or whatever, I feel like everyone's just kind of over that. So it's more just like everyone's just enjoying, at least from my perspective, I'm just enjoying watching everything. Like, and I feel like if it had come out like right after, there might still be like like some hard feelings or like it might be like, oh my God, you said that about me or something like that. So it's really fun to just watch it back and like enjoy the experience. And yeah, I mean, I feel like the show Survivor in general has had a lot of impact on my life, but particularly, being on Survivor at UCLA, I met like so many amazing special people and like I met really, one special person. And I also met Hannah. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah, Hannah and I have been pretty close. No, we're about to celebrate our 2-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Yay. So yeah, that was probably the best thing that came out of the show for me. But really it's just been a really fun experience and like genuinely like a highlight of college. Like for me, this club has meant everything to me. It's been really awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna be so sad to leave. Oh,
No, graduation, it's looming. Okay, Kelsey, I know you're not in any post-game showmances or anything like that, but please, how is it like watching it back? And yeah, all that, all that.
Yeah, can't really top that. Hannah and Elena have like the like amazing after story, whatever. And we're all so happy for you guys. But yeah, so watching it back 2 years later, you're just number one, I was a freshman, same thing as Hannah. And it was like my understanding of like college and how I thought things were gonna go was just like so wrong, so wrong. Um, so you do have this like level of like cringiness, but you're also just like everyone on the show has that, and you have to get over it because like you didn't know what was going on. Like you can say like, "Oh, I should have known that person was lying. I should have seen Elena blushing." Like when we're talking about her having or whoever has the idol, but you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about like, I need to make a connection with this person. Like I want this person to like think we can work together. I don't want to be like psychoanalyzing their like every move. So yeah, so like watching it back, like you're thinking like, oh my God, I was so paranoid, and also just like, was it valid? Sure. But it's really fun, like you said. Like I'm kind of glad it came out like 2 years later. The past two episodes I've watched with Jude, and we're having a lot of fun, like laughing about like all the all the interactions and how much we didn't trust each other, like when we probably could have. It's just funny stuff like that, and also just like not quite as awesome as like having a showmance, but the friendships that you make after the show, it's like always so unexpected. Like the people that I found myself the closest with are like not anybody that I would have anticipated wanting to be friends with. And I think that's kind of like the beauty of Survivor at UCLA is like it forces you to interact with people that like you might not ever meet in your college experience. Like I know for me as an engineering major, I hang out with people who I study with and the people who are in my technical projects. And if you're not one of them, like I don't have time. Like so Survivor at UCLA forced me to like make time to meet new people. And I'm still friends with most of them today. So I'm like really excited about that. And just like the kinds of connections that it's formed. And I'm super happy with like all the friendships made, even if at the time I was like, God, this game, I'm like so scared all the time. Why? But overall, incredibly positive and definitely like a defining decision in my college experience was applying. So I'm super happy.
Yeah, I mean, the game paranoia is real. It's hard to like turn off that part of your brain, and I think like yeah, it's fantastic like the way that once the game is over it's like, oh, friends, like I actually enjoyed these people outside of like trying to figure out if they were lying to me the whole time. I do like to joke that I set Hannah and Elena up because I was on the casting team that season. I'm like, I did that. One of my favorite things to say, obviously not true, but like,
no, wait, I forgot there was one thing I wanted to say too about that because so fun fact for I guess the viewers is I applied for season 3 and I did not get on the season. I was an alternate. And so I applied again for season 4. So like if you ever have applied and didn't get on, maybe it's meant to be that way because yeah, I wouldn't have met Hannah and then probably wouldn't be as involved with the club as I still am now. So that really worked out for me. So keep trying.
yeah, I mean, I think I was cast in your spot. Like, I think they were between us, is what I've been told, which is kind of funny. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think Evan last episode was talking about how Nia was also maybe supposed to be on season 3. Like, a lot of things just like they work out, things do happen for a reason. And yeah, I think it's always fun to see how things do shape out. Okay, yeah, that I think really sums up I think the experience. I hope. But yes, apply all those things. Keep your eyes peeled. But one last thing I want to do before we go is pick a player of the episode, each of us respectively. Last episode we got 3 votes for Iman, 1 vote for Lucas for episode 1. So for episode 2, honestly it's tough, but I think I like I'm inclined to give it to Jude, but I don't know why. Um, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, I'll say it was definitely not me. But anyway, I would also maybe say Jude just because he threw a name out there and it stuck and he got his target out. And he was also making those bonds, making those alliances. I'll give a slight shout out to Elena Slights for pulling a little fast one, I guess. But I think for spearheading the vote, I would have to just say Jude, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Um I think the reason that I have some hesitancy is just because I don't necessarily see him at being at the social center of the tribe, but I do think ultimately like he is building bonds in this episode and we see that and he does kind of push his agenda successfully. So I'm on the same page. Kelsey, what about you?
I was going to totally say Elena because you were the only one who knew like the full extent of what was going on. Like you
Mm,
knew what was happening between Jude Dunker and I because I had told you. You knew where Hannah was where she was at because you two were talking and the three of us were talking. You were the one that reached out to Matthew first. Even if like maybe that situation was overcomplicated, you still had control over it. And you knew where the idol was. So there was no fear in your head of like, should we split this vote? Like, do we need to consider the fact that like if he usually does have it, like this is why we don't tell Matthew, like anything along those lines. Um, but like I like some credit to Jude for putting a name out there and everything, but I do like the part in Tribal Council where he thought there was only one idol in the game. I think it pans to me laughing, and that was just funny because I remember like us talking about idols and me trying to explain to him how idols worked. Um, Good time. But yeah, bottom line, like I think Elena, in my opinion, would be like player of the episode for this one, just for being in control of it, maybe not starting it, but like knowing everything that was going on, because that's pretty rare in this game.
yeah, I mean, for someone who's newer to Survivor, there's definitely a learning curve to like understand the way that the idols go and all that. Yeah, definitely some good cuts during Turtle Council. Hey, Elena, I don't know if you'll say yourself, but like you could. Um,
No, no, I'm not gonna say myself. I was gonna say Kelsey because I feel like personally I didn't think I was really in a good position with Jude and Dunker. So to me that was like two people on the tribe at least where I was like, okay, I'm not like in with them at all. And I feel like Kelsey was really in at least a little bit with every single person on the tribe. Because maybe not Ayushi, but like that's fine. But like everyone else, like because you were in the three of us where we were talking to Matthew, so you were a part of that, and you were like actually in the alliance, with Jude and Dunker. I guess maybe not Ryan, but like that's kind of all. So overall, I feel like Kelsey had like at least the sway with the other like our other side of the tribe, which would be Jude and Dunker. So that's definitely why I wanted to give Kelsey player of the episode, in my opinion, because I feel like you did a really good job integrating yourself like with all sides.
That's actually a great point because I don't know at what point this happened or if it's shown, but Kelsey like kind of also connected me a little bit with Dunker and Jude, and I probably never would have reached out to them otherwise. So yeah, you did a great job integrating yourself. I would say they were kind of like splits between the Dunker and Jude and then the me and Elena Matthew sides of the tribe, and you were pretty much smack dab in the middle, and you did a really good job of setting yourself up for that point. And had we, never mind.
you never know how things could have
No
gone.
spoilers, no spoilers.
You never
So the
know.
one
What
thing
if
I
what
will
if Ayushi
say,
stayed?
oh,
What if Ayushi stayed? The whole game could
oh,
be different. Um,
really?
but yeah, okay, so Hannah, are you changing your answer or are you sticking on Jude?
I
I'm
think
taking
just
a
at the end of the
stance.
day, because he was pretty much the main reason the person went home, I would have to stick with it. But more subtly, other people might have done more sneaky things, but overall, like as a more the most dominant person of the episode, probably Jude.
All right, so we got two for Jude, one for Elena, one for Kelsey. The Doves racking up points now against the stakes and the players of the episode. We'll see what happens next time. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. This was so fun. There will be more episodes to come, so you never know again in the future. But yeah, tune in to new episodes of Survivor at UCLA season 4 every Wednesday at 8 p.m. And our after show is going to drop on Sundays at 8 p.m. So keep your eyes peeled. And we will see you all next week.